The COVID-19 pandemic has brought unprecedented disruption to labor markets worldwide and worsened long-standing inequalities.
Think, for example, of a young person. The pandemic has severely disrupted his or her education, particularly in those regions of the world where digital infrastructure is less developed. It has also made it much more difficult to enter the labor market or keep a first job.
Think of the situation of women. Across the world, they often had to take care of their families, which meant that they had to reduce the time they spent in paid work. Many of them have dropped out of the labor force, putting at risk years of progress towards achieving gender equality and implying a shift back to more traditional gender roles.
Think of the informal and low-skilled workers whose lives have been brutally changed by the pandemic. Working from home was not an option for many of them, and in order to keep the jobs they had, to face huge health risks, often with no access to any kind of social security benefits.
It won't be easy to close the gaps opened up by the crisis. An estimated additional 108 million workers and their family members now live in poverty.
Future prospects are not optimistic. As labor markets slowly enter into recovery, the new jobs that have become available are often of low quality.
In the next 2 years, employment creation will not be strong enough to provide sufficient employment opportunities for those who lost their jobs, as well as for younger workers who enter the labor market for the first time.
The job shortfall induced by the pandemic amounts to 75 million jobs in 2021 and 23 million in 2022. Global unemployment is expected to stand at 205 million people in 2022, greatly surpassing the 2019 level of 187 million.
The recovery will remain fragile in many countries due to the uneven rollout of vaccination campaigns and high levels of public debt and deficits that make it difficult to tackle the effects of the pandemic.
The pandemic also means that global disparities will widen. To avoid long-term consequences that could scar future generations of workers, we need to build back better.
We need to create productive employment opportunities and foster longer-term labor market prospects of the most vulnerable. We also need to strengthen social protection and make sure nobody is left behind. All this will require strong institutions and social dialogue and strong international cooperation to fight global disparities.
It will have to be a joint effort, a common cause, because we will only be successful if we do it together.
To find out more, look into this year's World Employment and Social Outlook Trends report.